everybody. I am today with Mr. Mario Remon. He's the Senior Director of Dexcom. He's a software engineer and electric engineer who has made a lot of contributions to the world and right now specifically to the medicine. So I'm gonna make my interview to you because it's my final exam in Broward College in the class of listening and speaking. And I pick you because I consider you one of the most magnificent persons I ever met in my life. You have gone through a lot. You were born in Cuba and you're an immigrant, a refugee here in the United States. And you went to school, you went to college in Chicago, Illinois, and you became one of the best engineers in the world. That's one of the reasons that I pick you to have the interview with me.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. So, what made you first interested in becoming an electric engineer?
Since I was very little, young, I had the interest of building things. The technology in general was something that of interest to me. I was very good at math. I played chess. I was a pretty good chess player at the age of 8.
Wow.
And so it was always of interest to me to look for logical things and for specific details about technology and building something from scratch.
Oh wow. For how long have you been working in the software technology field?
Probably between 25 and 30 years in various different aspects and industries. We started with cybersecurity, we moved to wireless, to communications, to electronic tolling for the Florida Turnpike, and now finally at Dexcom with medical devices.
Yeah. Can you name some of your most important contributions to the world throughout your entire career, please?
Yes. One of the biggest contributions that I had, I was part of the original team that developed the first cell phone in the industry. I was working for Motorola at the time. I was also in the same years I was able to participate on the discovery of the satellite phone, specifically the Iridium satellite phone used in the military and used as a commercial device for communication across the world. I was throughout my career, I worked on virtualization for Citrix systems. I was the primary architect for the Florida Turnpike on the Sun Pass endeavor, which is currently being used right now. There's, as you know, there's not bodies, people involved. It's all electronic tagging and photo recognition of plates. I architected all that. And in recent years, I've been working on medical devices trying to solve the problem of diabetes in the world.
Yes, can you explain more about that? What is diabetes for people that know? But I think, I believe most of us will know what is diabetes and we know someone who has the disease. And what is the difference between them? Because some of the people, they just might think that there's one type of diabetes. So can you explain us a little bit more about this?
There are actually 2 types of diabetes. It's the same source. It's a malfunctioning of the pancreas that doesn't allow you to secrete insulin or glucagon to the body. There are 2 flavors of it. There is type 1 and type 2. Commonly, when you see a diabetic, is probably a type 2. That is a hyperglycemia, this malfunction. That hyperglycemia meaning that the pancreas is not able to inject or secrete enough insulin to the body to maintain the glucose levels at where they need to be, between 120 80 milligrams per deciliter. Type 1, on the other hand, is exactly the opposite. It's what they call the hypoglycemia excursion, which means that your glucose levels are too low to keep the body alive. So that is a deadly diabetes, what they call it. And it is not as common as you might think, but it's still common enough to put an entire industry behind it in order to solve it through specifically a device called the artificial pancreas.
That's fantastic. What is your current project about? What you were talking about, the artificial pancreas, the Dexcom G6 device.
Yes. The Dexcom G6 device is an implantable that goes into the sub-Q, and it measures the glucose levels that are going through the veins in blood without touching the capillaries. And my department deals with all sorts of different companies that are trying to solve this problem using the sensor technology to augment the insulin delivering elements of it, constructing or creating what is commonly known as an artificial pancreas.
Amazing. Okay. Which are some of the companies that you are currently working with? List some of your clients or your customers.
Yes.
Please.
Particularly, there are several companies in the world there, mainly in the US at the moment. There are some Europeans and Asian conglomerates that are trying to solve this problem as well, and we're collaborating with them. I'm actually responsible for the interaction from the technical level with those companies. Companies like Tandem Diabetics, companies like Insulet Diabetes. It's a company out of Boston. There's another one by the name of Lilly Pharmaceuticals, the largest insulin manufacturer in the world. We're collaborating with them. Novo Nordisk is another insulin manufacturer, pharmaceutical company that we're collaborating with them in order to solve this problem. But it could be as variety as Apple. Apple. Google, Samsung. I have regular meetings with all of those.
Excuse me, why is that?
Apple, because it's a wearable that they have, the Apple Watch or the iPhone. They obviously, diabetes is a controllable. It's a deadly disease, but it's controllable. If you can notice the glucose levels without obviously pricking your finger with blood. So our implantable connects to those Apple devices, whether it's an iPhone, whether it's an Apple Watch, or a computer for that matter.
Oh wow, that's fantastic, amazing. How are you doing to manage your team remotely working from home?
That's an interesting question. We are using Zoom, GoToMeeting, any online chatting programs that we have in order to communicate. We use a lot of SharePoint, sites where we can upload documents and someone else can actually download it and read them and make commentary and so forth.
Oh wow, okay. Are you currently hiring employees during the COVID-19 crisis? How many, if that's the case?
Absolutely. This is a horrible virus that is going on. But in the medical fields, with the industry that I work is in, obviously there is a lot of necessity for the ICU units to have measurements of the glucose levels, or patients, COVID-19 patients, or even other patients that go into the hospital, for example, that traditionally they will manage their diabetes from home, but now they have to be in a hospital environment. So there's a lot of opportunity. I'm actually hiring 5 individuals, all with technical background.
Oh wow, that's impressive. How many lives approximately do you estimate have been saved thanks to the device that you and your team created, the Dexcom G6?
Millions, absolutely millions. It is an essential piece. It's a life-saving device that for a type 1 specifically, they cannot live without it. It's as simple as that.
Okay. How important, and this is almost the conclusion, we're almost ending with this, how important do you consider is your current job during the global pandemic that humankind is facing?
Oh, absolutely. It's an impactful, contribution to those COVID-19 patients that they go to the hospital, they get tested, but they need to stay in the hospital for quarantine purposes. We provide our services and our equipment for them to monitor the glucose levels.
Yeah. So do you consider it's important? That is because for me, it's also very important to work in the future in the medical field. So, do you consider this is a
Oh, it's a
rewarding job that you
Absolutely.
do more than money, for example, just the money that you make?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. It's a rewarding career due to the fact that you're actually helping people.
Mhm.
You're helping individuals with a disease that that they could actually manage through our equipment, our help, and our assistance. So it is extremely fulfilling to spend your
Life.
career and your life trying to help others rather than doing it for convenience. What we produce is not convenient; it's a life-saving device.
Yes. Please feel free to add any comments or opinions, personal opinions you may have.
No, I think it's anybody who goes into the medical field, whether it's directly, as an MD or a nurse or a practitioner, or someone like myself. I don't have a degree in medicine, but I deal with massive amount of doctors and nurses and helper and clinicians and people they dedicated their entire career to helping others through therapy, medical devices or other forms of cures and research and therapy.
Okay, thank you so much.